So it's about a playwright who, on the eve of his claim to fame, is approached by an old woman he doesn't know, who gives him a gold watch and says, "Come back to me." And she just disappears in the crowd, and he doesn't know who she is. And it's a complete mystery to him. And then 8 years pass. He's a famous playwright now. His work's in demand, but he has what I gather to be writer's block. This is the part where the story was a little bit, or one of the parts where the story was a little bit ambiguous. But I did gather that he had some measure of writer's block, and he was just going to hit the road and go somewhere. And it's funny because, so a lot of the film takes place at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island in Michigan, which is kind of a hidden gem in the Mackinac Straits where the two peninsulas meet. There are no cars on this island. So I had to laugh when he's just about to pass it while he's driving, and he just decides he's going to stay there. Right. Which, because there's no cars on the island, it's all horse and carriage. Even goods are freighted by horse and carriage from the docks and stuff. If you want to travel there, you have to leave your car on the mainland, take a ferry, and then just travel by horse taxi wherever you want to go around the island. But in any case, so he stays in the Grand Hotel, which was built in the 19th century, and there he sees a portrait of a woman who he learns is named Elise McKenna, and who's played by Jane Seymour, the playwright being played by...
A.K.A. Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Yeah, and the playwright being played by Christopher Reeve.
A.K.A. Superman.
What he realizes there's something about this woman who's just really striking to him, and that's something that I feel like the film is also a little bit more ambiguous about, and it's surprising. Some of the writing, I feel like, isn't super great, and it is surprising because it's a Richard Matheson screenplay.
I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, I was too. I said, this is the same guy that, brought us I Am Legend.
And The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yeah, and it does have sci-fi elements to it with the time travel.
A little bit. It's a real hippy dippy means of time travel. You just lie in a bed in an old costume and imagine really hard that you're there. Basically,
but yeah. So he does more research about this actress, and he slowly learns that she has a lot of overlap with his life. That he has this pocket watch that he learns belonged to her. That this was this old woman, and that she died the night that she gave it to him. That she has a model of the Grand Hotel that plays the Rachmaninoff song that he loves so much, and that she's been reading the same book about time traveling physics that he studied under the man who wrote it in college. And he then eventually does find a guest book at the Grand Hotel from the year 1912, which was when this actress was at her height, and he saw that he had signed his name in that guest book in 1912. And so he knew he went back there. He knew he time traveled. So he confers with this professor, and the professor says that he stayed in Venice, I think it was, and that he was able to hypnotize himself to the point where he was able to travel back to the year 1571 in Venice, but it was only very brief, and because of the presence of modern items that he wasn't able to sustain it. So it's funny because I was watching it with my wife, with whom I honeymooned at the Grand Hotel at Mackinac Island, which is this film was kind of near and dear to my heart. When I saw those shots of the Grand Hotel, it touched me very deeply. Seeing that again.
Does it look a lot like it does in the movie?
Absolutely. I will say that, and I think my mom was telling me this too, that the hotel rooms weren't in the Grand Hotel, and it shows because the rooms in the Grand Hotel are also just lavishly decorated, and each room is different. And those look just like normal hotel rooms. Although the view, it looked like they might have kind of superimposed the view that you would have seen from the Grand Hotel of the Straits. But when he's in the dining hall, that's the same dining hall that we ate in. The lobby of the Grand Hotel, the exterior scenes, the courtyard where he runs down the stairs to see her after she remains after all those events. In any case, but. So he learns how to hypnotize himself to travel back in time. And it's funny because my wife was indignant or incredulous about how that works as time travel. But they're saying in like quantum physics now that manifestation, it does have some merit. I don't know the details of it.
I was going to say there's a whole subreddit dedicated to people who believe that you can time travel this way and who claim that they have done it.
Yeah, there's also, remote viewing, which is something that maybe you don't believe in, but the CIA fucking believes in.
That's right.
And where
astral projection, even just
astral projection, sure.
transcends space and time. But
they all sound cheaper than building a DeLorean time machine.
But so he does find a way to travel back to 1912, and he meets this actress who was somehow told by her manager that she should expect a man who was going to screw up her life. That doesn't necessarily happen, although apparently
that's not that hard to predict.
Yeah, no. And I think
that's a given.
And they kind of set it up like the manager had some unique insights that that this was going to happen. That he himself might have been a time traveler, but that's not the case. He's just crudely jealous of her career. He makes it very clear he didn't take her under his wing just to groom her to marry her. So it's not really like a love triangle thing. But it doesn't go any deeper than that. He's just
he's played by
jealous,
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, just jealous manager who goes well out of his way to,
I saw this movie for the first time yesterday, knowing we were going to talk about it, and I was expecting to like it. I do like Christopher Reeve in the movie. I think he gives it his A game. I'm not going to blame Jane Seymour for a bad performance because I think she does a good job with what she has, but I think the part is a really weird, tricky part to play. She's contrived by the plot a lot instead of being her own person, I think. Yeah. And Christopher Plummer's good. So I love the actors, and John Barry gave it a beautiful score. But the relationships, I didn't really feel the love between them. I thought John Barry was doing all the romance in the movie. I didn't understand why these two people loved each other so much. I didn't quite invest in their relationship. I didn't buy it.
There's kind of this suggestion of cosmic predestination or something like that. I don't know, but it's I
need more.
My wife was saying it was hard to buy too.
It's because as beautiful as those two people are, they don't really have a lot of chemistry.
No.
That might be true.
Yeah. It's true. But I do have a theory that this is actually the prequel to Donnie Darko. That she's actually Grandma Death and wrote the philosophy of time travel.
Oh wow! Now that's cool.
That is cool.
That is cool. Yeah. She's Grandma Death.
So eventually, they do connect, and they right there talking about their plans to get married, and she's ripping on him about his suit that's 15 years old, even though he bought the best 19.
I thought he looked very dapper.
Yeah, and then he's going through his pockets. He's like, "Yeah, look at everything I can hold here," and he pulls out this penny from 1979. And it just launches them right back to 1980.
And then the movie really started to lose me.
Yeah, which I don't know. Something about the way the time travel stuff was shot, I really liked. If you're going to...
visually it's fine.
If you're going to leverage the power of film just to get that across without special effects, I think they did it really in a really cool way. And it's kind of that really hits you in the gut where it's like, it just hits you that it's 1979 coin, and then it's just being launched back.
But I have issues with the end of this movie for the same reason I have issues with Twilight movie. But my friend Jen Handy took me to 2 or 3 of those damn movies before I quit watching them. And in one of them, Robert Pattinson's like not around. And so Kristen Stewart just sits on her bed and rocks back and forth, all sad, while literally the seasons change behind her out the window. And I'm like, girl, get a hobby, get a job, find another boy. And I'll also tell you, I hate almost every John Cusack movie I've ever seen, because in every John Cusack movie, with rare exceptions, it's always about John Cusack falling in love with a girl and then losing the girl and not knowing how to move on with his life without this girl.
Scott just doesn't believe in love.
I believe in love. I love that makes sense. But in this movie, Christopher Reeve loses Jane Seymour. I get it. That's a horrible loss. I wouldn't want to lose Jane Seymour. She's fucking gorgeous. But he loses her, and he can't figure out how to get back to her. So what does he do? Sits in a chair for 7 days, doesn't eat, doesn't drink, so he can die. Spoiler alert. And then they cut to a Ghost and Mrs. Muir type ending where everything's white and she's waiting for him, and then they're together again. So he can't get back to her, so he dies. That's the end of the movie. I'm like, dude, I'll tell you what I told John Cusack and what I tell Kristen Stewart. Get a hobby, get a job, find someone else. You're going to die anyway. You'll see her then. And then it didn't work for me.
My wife brought up a really good point that if they were able to meet in heaven, quote unquote, does that mean that her soul was in heaven while simultaneously in 1912? Or is it just, it kind of brings up that time paradox thing where it's just a different
I think there's
reality.
a lot of paradox stuff in this too.
Stop picking away at it, Ben.
It unravels.
I told you she was incredulous about the time travel.
We don't have time to get into that. But at a future point, Ben, you and I should definitely discuss that because I have a lot of theories.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
on this movie in particular?
Yeah, and just the whole idea of like bilocation and what that means for your soul, and it's not but just bilocation, it's sort of an omnilocation, and what that means in terms of everything from the way that the world actually works to things being a simulation. It's Robert, it's a long conversation, so
we'll have to start a whole other podcast show for that.
Yeah.
Well,
which isn't the worst idea. I want to address Robert and let him know I haven't seen Say Anything. I've heard it's one of his better ones, so I will hold out some hope that that's good. But I will say High Fidelity was something I couldn't get through 45 minutes of. I thought it was terrible.
Okay.
Go on.
All right,
but the other big question mark I had, though, and maybe because you guys also saw it, maybe you know, but how did she know he was a time traveler, that she would find him in 1972 and give him the watch and say, "Come back to me"?
I feel like the script doesn't explain itself in a lot of that stuff.
My best guess is that he literally went poof, and that drove her to read the book that his professor wrote and stuff like that to learn about time travelers, and she figured it out, but.
Maybe. I mean, they're playing a sort of game of leapfrog throughout the whole thing, So,
yeah.
Well, does anyone want to say that they love Somewhere in Time? As much as I dogged on it, I'm not saying it's a terrible movie. I would probably give it maybe a 5, maybe a 6. It's pretty. It does have it creates a nice, again, the word vibe. And I love Christopher Reeve. But I wanted something. I was expecting more and better.
I like it better than Back to the Future.
Oh my
God! Stop!
Just for that, I ought to give you a set of elephant balls.